Hello, I'm Jonathan and welcome to the Tamworth FC Social, a podcast all about Tamworth Football Club. It's just over 7 weeks until the new season begins for the Lambs. The last time the club was in English football's fifth tier was the 2013-14 season. Brett, Graham and myself talk about how much the league has changed since Tamworth were last there, and we take an early look ahead to next season. Don't forget you can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. If you enjoy the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this episode a like. It really helps us grow our audience. This episode was recorded before the signing of Hayden Hollis was announced. We'll do another episode in the near future on how the squad is shaping up. This time, I began by asking Brett about the 2024-25 campaign. Where are Tamworth really in terms of the teams in the National League next season? Can we expect them to kind of pick up where they left off effectively from 10 years or so ago when they would have last been at this level, or have things moved on so much that Tamworth are a real underdog?
Yeah, I think things have moved on quite dramatically. We stood still for so long. I think the league has moved forward. I think on paper, you look at the teams, and I said this in an earlier episode, there are smaller teams in it now than there were probably on both occasions than when we were in it. Wealdstone, Braintree, just to name a couple. You've not got Oxford, you've not got Luton, you've not got Wrexham. Barnet aren't what they were. Dagenham aren't what they were. In a lot of ways, it's more modern. And I think had we not been away from it for so long, or at least definitely if we hadn't been away from the National League North for so long, we probably wouldn't have seen it as much. But I think definitely I'll look at it now. You look at the players that are down there and you look at the following that clubs get or their online presence. I mean, it seems less and less now where that league has become old dropouts of the Football League. It is more the other way now. It is players who are very much on their way up at the top of their game at that level, trying to go one better. And I think that's where Peaks, in that sense, has done the right thing. He's not gone for dropouts and people who are just looking for one last payday. He has gone for people who's obviously watched, thought they could do a job, will fit in well, fit his ethos, and can make a difference. But then that's where my worry is can they do it at that level?
I think it's just that the National League is just so much more. It's just a fully kind of professional league now, isn't it? It's a full-time league. Whereas when we were last in there was these like really big clubs, and then there was the part-time clubs, and there was like us, like Southport, Lea RMI, and all of that. I mean, it's going back a long time now, but there was kind of like a significant gap between like the sort of bottom half and the top half, and there wasn't like the smaller clubs breaking into the top half. Whereas now you've got like some of these clubs like Bromley, who obviously who went up. You've got your Solihull Moors. Obviously, Boreham Wood did quite well for a few years, and they've gone down. But these clubs are all kind of what you would call not in a tradition of big clubs or big old league clubs, but they're clubs that are up and coming, and they've got backers, investors behind them, and they're real community clubs. So it's where Tamworth now fit into that picture really, and where they're at the moment. And obviously the National League has come at a time when, well, the club wouldn't have really planned for it again. Well, not sort of so soon anyway. So I think it's finding out a little bit who Tamworth really, really are this season. I mean, I think they're going to have to feel their way into that, really. I think we're going to be a different position to any club in that league, really, especially with the types of players that we've signed so far and the way we're going about our business. So that sort of excites me, but also at the same time, I'm sort of apprehensive of what's what's ahead as well this season. But I think you've got to look at it positively, really, and just kind of embrace what we've done over the past 2 seasons and hope that momentum carries through.
When I look down the lineup of teams for next season, I'd say I feel more excited than nervous just because of some of the size of clubs that Tamworth will be playing. Like Oldham, they were a Premier League team, and I think that's the first ex-Premier League opposition Tamworth will have ever faced in a league game, which I think, that's something to be excited for. Teams like Barnet, who are, League Two and National League sort of regulars over the years. And even like a Yeovil, I know they're fellow promotees, but I mean, they were in the Championship not so long ago. I mean, there are plenty of reasons, aren't there, for Tamworth to sort of feel aspirational as well as, there's reasons to be nervous, etc. as well.
I think you're right there, and also just going back to last season, the players rose to the occasion, and I think that's how they can approach this again. It's kind of with a little bit of no fear. We can go to these, big clubs, play with no fear, play our own game. Don't let them, don't give them too much respect. Play our own game like we did this season, like that we did when we went to Scunthorpe. We went there and we played our own game and we came away and we won the game. And that's how we've got to approach it again. Go with no fear. Like we say, quite a number of these lads haven't played at this level before, but they want to prove themselves. This is a chance. This is a stepping stone to go on to something bigger and better. I'm not saying Tamworth isn't bigger and better, because that for them it is right now, but it's another opportunity to get yourself on the pillar of going into the Football League, isn't it? And I think that's perhaps how I sort of will perceive it. And also we're going to be a bit of a mystery to a lot of clubs in that league, and that holds us as an advantage, just like it did last season. Clubs aren't going to know about some of these players like Tom McGlinchey, so it's going to be interesting.
And if Scunthorpe didn't like playing Tamworth last season, then I don't see why Oldham, Rochdale, etc. are going to like it anymore. Because I mean, I would have them down as probably similar-ish size of club. Maybe the stadium sizes are a bit different, but Scunthorpe were Football League for so many years and counts for nothing when you're up 90 minutes against Tamworth.
Yeah, I think we've got to do our best to wind some of these clubs up a little bit as well, a bit like we did last year.
2013-14 was the last time Tamworth were at this level. I had a little look at the league table and a few very surreal things that jumped out. So obviously Luton were champions that year with 101 points. That was the springboard for them to go all the way to the Premier League. Braintree, arguably a similar level of club to Tamworth. They finished 6th that year. Forest Green finished 10th and then went into playing the Football League. Nuneaton Town, as they were known during this season, finished 13th. Probably say they're similar-ish size club to Tamworth as well. Lincoln City 14th, and they've been in the Football League as well. And then Wrexham 17th. It both surprised me, and then it doesn't surprise me just how sort of changeable English football can be, and how easy it is for teams to move around. And I think, well, I wonder, is that another reason for positivity when you think, well, Tamworth are going into a division where it is a division where you get teams sort of moving in and out in both directions. It's not just a trap door, so to speak, from League Two.
It is more like the Premier Division of non-league again, with a few added extras, which is why it's tougher still again. So I think that's also probably a different mindset to have, that it's not just a graveyard of ex-Football League clubs like it has been in the past. Yeah, that table's quite interesting. I don't remember Braintree ever finishing that high. I mean, fair play to them for that year. And then you look at some of those clubs that have gone on to do what they have. Forest Green, obviously they've just come back down again now, but the little journey that they went on. I mean, obviously they're bankrolled, aren't they? But it shows that with a bit of input, really, look what you can do, because they don't have any fans, they haven't got any followers. It's a tiny little village in the middle of nowhere. Just got a good business model with a chairman who's willing to put in a load of money and just try and be something different. That's not criticism of Bob Andrews either. I'm just saying, look what you can do with the right springboard without going into it just thinking, well, this is a really good opportunity to be amongst some of these fallen clubs, because actually we're there. And like you said, some of those clubs won't like coming down the lamb. I think the less we treat games like a cup final, Every game is a league game. You shouldn't be going to Oldham away, for example, Boundary Park, thinking, "Oh yeah, this is like a really big game for us." It's a league game.
My only other question for you both was just going to be a very, very early prediction for where Tamworth will finish. Just doesn't have to be a number, but like just stay up, mid-table, playoffs, etc. Could I tempt either of you into a midsummer or an early summer prediction? I won't hold you to it. We'll do a proper predictions show later in the summer.
I don't know. I really don't know. That's really. I think it could go either way. That's how I feel right now. I think it could go either way. And based on where we're at, I just think we're either going to really, really surprise people, or we're going to be fighting for our lives. And I hope it's the first one.
So I'm not sure if it would be a surprise if Tamworth were to, for instance, get top half, because I've seen a lot of people on social media expecting Tamworth to be the overachievers, and
I've seen that.
Yeah, well, no, I have as well. Yeah, yeah. And there's obviously people out there who've seen what we've done and see, yeah, perhaps it's just, I think it's just hard to predict, isn't it, right now?
Some teams take momentum, don't they, into a higher division really well, and it's often really hard to predict. But the stats didn't lie. Tamworth were very solid last season, and I've said this several times, but I think a strong defence is obviously a better footing to go up on than if you're high scoring, high conceding.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's the two biggest things for us, isn't it? Momentum and that defence. And we've kept that defence together and added to it as well.
That's all for this episode of the Tamworth FC Social podcast. Thank you for listening. You can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. If you enjoy the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this episode a like. It really helps us grow our audience. Until next time, goodbye.